Also, very warm welcome from my side. My name is Stefan Lahr. I'm working at SAP, and I'm there in the product management team for SAP Focused Run, and I'm responsible for the coordination of the rollout activities. Session topic of today is to give you an overview and also the news as well as an outlook for SAP Focused Run. So the first thing I have to speak about a bit disclaimer. So especially when I come to the Outlook, remember that all the dates, features, and things like this that we are talking about is the current state of planning and can be changed by SAP at any point in time without further notice. Then if you would like to share some news on social media, please use the ALM Summit hashtag. And as also mentioned already by the moderator of the session, if you have questions, please put them in the QA section of this Zoom meeting. I will come at the end of the session to this and try to answer them there. With this, let's start with the agenda. So you see it's a relatively short agenda for today. We will start with a general overview of Focused Run. We still see new customers that the topic SAP Focused Run is not familiar to them. So we would like to clarify here what it is and also what are the differences to Solution Manager in this area. Then I would like to go over the use cases in detail. And here I would like to bring also the newest information, features, functions that came with the latest release of Focused Run so that you also get an update here. And last but not least, then I would like to close the session with giving you an outlook. What is planned? What is on our roadmap? Where do we set our scope for the further development of SAP Focused Run? Saying this, I would like to start with the overview. SAP Focused Run is an independent product. This is very important to understand, and I still see some confusion on customer side. This is related to the fact that we have two other products, and this is the Focused Insights as well as the Focused Build, which are add-ons to the SAP Solution Manager. So you need the SAP Solution Manager, and then you can install the Focused Insights as well as the Focused Build only on top of it. Focused Run is different. Focused Run is not an add-on to the SAP Solution Manager. This is very important. It is really an independent product that has to be installed separately. It comes then with a completely independency of the Solution Manager. Nevertheless, you can run both in parallel. So you can have an SAP Solution Manager and you can run SAP Focused Run in parallel. They do not influence each other, and also from the release point of view, they are not depending on each other. The infrastructure is completely separated and it works absolutely fine if you use it in parallel. The scope of Focused Run is to cover the functionalities during productive usage of a hybrid landscape. This means we are offering there all the functionalities that an administrator needs during the daily work to ensure that all the components of a hybrid landscape, which means a landscape that consists of systems on-premise as well as services in the cloud, is up and running and can be used sufficient by all the end users. So it is not covering the complete scope as you know it from the Solution Manager, Application Lifecycle Management, that also includes support for the implementation phase, like project documentation, test management, change management, and so on. All these components are not in scope of Focused Run. Focused Run comes really into the game when the project has been set live and the functionality is used in a hybrid landscape. We did this offering, so we are positioning Focused Run as an alternative to Solution Manager. This is also important. It is not a successor of Solution Manager, but whenever we see a customer that is struggling from the amount of systems point of view that he wants to connect to be monitored, or from the data volume that he has to handle by monitoring a sufficient or a quite big landscape, then Whenever this is the case, then we bring Focused Run as an alternative and position this to the customer as an alternative to Solution Manager, because here, with the functionalities that we are providing, we can ensure that we have here practically unlimited scalability. So to prove this, our biggest customer, they have 40,000 systems connected to Focused Run and do the technical monitoring for this system landscape. And also, we position this Focused Run system especially for service providers. Service providers usually also have a huge amount of systems, and they also have the need to separate different customers also from the central monitoring point of view. And this is also ensured by Focused Run. And last but not least, we also position Focused Run for customers that have a sufficient landscape size, because from this landscape size, then it makes more sense, and they are leveraging then the advantages of Focused Run to the maximum, so that at the end the license costs will be justified. And this brings me also to one important point. So Focused Run, in opposite to Focused Insights and Focused Build, is not free of charge, and is also not planned to become free of charge. Every customer who wants to use this product has to acquire a license. From the technical point of view, Focused Run is based or consists of the NetWeaver ABAP stack with the latest release that is supported and that you can see in the product availability matrix, and the HANA database. And this is also very important. All the functionalities that we have redeveloped to be provided on Focused Run to help you with monitoring, with root cause analysis, with analytics and so on, I will show you the scope later on, has been developed in the way that they leverage also all the advantages that HANA is offering to the maximum, so that we can ensure this criteria, like I said, unlimited scalability, highest performance, finest degree of the collected data, highest degree of automation, and so on. Also, the newest developments in the area of machine learning, automated correction, artificial intelligence, big data analysis, to name here some buzzwords. All this also is part of our strategy to develop functionality on Focused Run, and you will find this functionality then also on this product. It is going step by step. You will see this in the roadmap, in the outlook at the end of the session, where we are currently, which functionalities we have already in place, and where we are heading here, especially in this area of the adoption of the finest and latest age technology. Good. With saying this, I would like to go and give you the scope in more detail. This is the complete picture of functionality that is provided by Focused Run. If I start here on the left side, you see we have the monitoring capabilities in several flavors. Starting on the top, we are having integration monitoring that is focusing then on the correlation of end-to-end message flow monitoring and the monitoring of integration-related exceptions. Then we have the user monitoring capabilities. There we have two applications. So monitoring is based on real user activity monitoring, as well as monitoring of synthetic user activities. I will come to all these use cases in more detail after I'm showing you this overview. So more details will follow in a moment. Then we have the advanced application management. There we have the monitoring of the application healthiness, as well as the job monitoring as part of this area, and also the service availability monitoring, the IT calendar, work mode management. Then we have the configuration monitoring area. Here we are focusing on monitoring of the configuration and software changes. This also includes then the validation of security policies. Also here, I will bring more details, and I already want to point you to a dedicated session of this topic, because especially security-related aspects of the configuration monitoring became more and more requested by customers. So a dedicated session is following direct after this session here today in the morning. In fact, from 11 to 11:45, this is planned. Then we have the advanced system management. Here, most prominent application is the technical system monitoring that works for system layer, instance layer, databases, and hosts, as well as we have here the support for all early watch alert, for the license management, as well as for further remote service delivery like going live checks. And last but not least, we have the IT infrastructure monitoring layer, where we are focusing on the monitoring of technical infrastructure components. There we have no own data provider on this layer, so no agents. It provides us with data on network layer, for example, giving us information regarding availability of router, bridges, switches, so network components, or further IT components like printers, telephones, and so on. But we can consume this metrics and events, and we can further process them in our focused run infrastructure, so that you can really establish the focused run as your leading, as your single central monitoring component. Even if you use further monitoring from third-party vendors, you can integrate this, and then you can handle it centrally in focused run. Then once you have the capability to monitor 24/7 in real time and get then certain behaviors, that means you get an event when a certain threshold is exceeded that you have defined in the monitoring tool. We handle this event in the advanced event and alert management of focused run. There one special topic that I also would bring up here is the capability of alert correlation that we have introduced in SAP Focused Run, where we combine certain alerts that are logical, belong together to dramatically reduce the amount of alerts and make it much more efficient for the administrator to assign such an alert to the right support group in the organization that handles then this alert and finds out what is the root cause much more efficient. And also for this, I would bring up your attention because we have a special session where one of our customers speaks about the experience by introducing this correlation concept and how dramatically it was possible to reduce the amount of alerts and how efficient now the organization can work in handling this. This session will be then the next session in the morning, so starting at 12 to 12:45. Also part of Focused Run is the root cause analysis capabilities. So we are offering dedicated capabilities for system analysis, trace analysis, and also a file system browser. Of course, this works on real-time data as well as on aggregated data. So for trend analysis to data mine if a critical situation is occurring out of the sudden, or if this has been already visible by creating a tendency over the last hours or days. So also historical data will be presented here and can be then, or one thing that I also want to highlight here is that the UIs of Focused Run are very much or to a very high degree possible to personalize. So we have out of the box usable dashboards where we have the most important matrix and KPIs already visible for the technical components which you have selected in the scope, but you can adjust this, and this makes especially sense in this advanced root cause analysis capabilities because we are fully aware that with our preset of the data, with the data according to, or the data assembling according to our best practices, we will never hit 100% satisfaction rate. So everyone has his special special favorites and special also constraints of which data he wants to have in scope and in which correlation he wants to see the data. So you can adjust the UIs for all the Focused Run applications, but here, especially in the root cause analysis, we see customers are using this quite heavily, and that also makes a lot of sense. Then we have the operation automation area. So we try to avoid manual execution, especially for reoccurring tasks, but also we are heavily investing in providing automation for problem resolution processes. You can imagine if we position Focused Run as the tool of choice for service providers, for customers that have a very big landscape. Every manual task becomes very expensive because it has to be done in a very high frequency and on a very big amount of systems. So this automation here is, of course, most effective if you have a big landscape. And there we see also that the customers are using it. And last but not least, we have the area of advanced analytics and intelligence. This means here we are providing meaningful dashboards, reports for the analysis of the data in different layers. So we have an integrated analytics area in each of the monitoring application. But then we also have dashboards for the operation control center, for operational or tactical decisions that can be made, so that we assemble that data from different monitoring use cases on one single screen, and you get a complete picture over the different landscape components here. Also belonging to this area is the intelligence functionality, so the usage of artificial intelligence, of machine learning, big data analysis, and so on. I will also show you later then which capabilities we have there already. It's still an area where we are investing a lot right now, where we see demand from customer side, and which is a very big point also on the roadmap for further releases. So we are not at the end there. I would say just at the beginning, actually. And this is the complete scope of Focused Run. So you see all the technical aspects, everything that needs an administrator to operate and to ensure the operation of a landscape. This is provided. There are no functionalities like change request management, project documentation, and so on. So all these areas that belongs to the implementation section of the solution manager is not in scope of Focused Run and will not come. So we try to provide you here a very high performing, very high scaling application that acts as an alternative if the solution manager functionality is not solving the problems that the customer maybe has in this case. Okay, with this overview, let me go into the details. And starting with the advanced integration monitoring. So what we are providing here is the monitoring of message flows that are processed, for example, with SAP PI, PO, MII, SLT, or the SAP Cloud Platform Integration Suite. Also part is the capability to monitor peer-to-peer interfaces like iDoc, RFC, AIF, REST, and web services. We can monitor also exceptions for cloud and on-premise components with advanced integration monitoring and combine this information then on the dashboards that are provided, so that it's relatively easy to identify if an issue is really related to the on-premise side or to the cloud service side, and this saves quite a lot of time in the ping-pong game of making someone responsible for an issue. Also part of this application is a powerful message and document search, as well as tracking of a document. So if you have the situation that the customer wants to know, or an end user wants to know what is the status of a current order number that he has maybe sent to a system, to a cloud service, and he's expecting an invoice for this, or any other acknowledgement from the cloud service did not arrive. So what is the status? Then you can search for this order number. We can track the message execution and see what was the status of the message execution in each of the components that was involved in the message execution. And then you can give a proper answer to the end user. What is the status? What is the issue maybe? And how fast this can be solved. To bring also here some information regarding what has been done in the latest release. So the latest release that we are live now is Focused Run 3.0 Feature Pack 01 since Q2 this year. And with this release, we have added the monitoring content for SAP Fieldglass, Marketing Cloud, as well as for SuccessFactors HXM Suite to bring the examples here for the coverage of cloud services. Plus, also we have added the coverage for NetWeaver Java from the on-premise side. And please keep in mind, this is really just what we have added with the latest release. Before we had already a very well coverage and very wide coverage for all the on-premise components, as I have mentioned on top of the slide, as well as several public cloud services. Just additional data information here on the slide. Good. Then coming to the next use case, giving you the details for advanced user monitoring. There we have two applications. First one I would like to mention here is the real user monitoring. Real user monitoring is a capability that you do not find on Solution Manager, which is exclusively on Focused Run, as well as on Cloud ALM available. With real user monitoring, you can really monitor each and every user request execution, and you can monitor what was the performance from the end user perspective. It works without additional agents or additional data injection. So we are using the data that is available, that is written down during each of the user request executions, and we correlate this data then with the SAP passport information, and so we can rebuild the complete request execution flow and pinpoint the measured performance to each of the components, including then also the network, the front end, and so on. So the support for this capability on front-end side is given for SAP GUI scenarios, WebDyn Pro, Web GUI, as well as SAP UI5 that could run then on desktop PCs as well as on mobile devices. So also if an end user is using an Apple iPhone to request data from your backend systems, we can monitor it. If this is a Fiori scenario, for example, we can monitor what was the time that he needed for this request on the front end in the network, and then each component in the backend area. On backend side, supported is S/4HANA Cloud, the BTP, and all ABAP and J2E based on-premise products. Newly added with the latest release here, we have now also the support for Cloud for Customers and SAP Marketing Cloud. So also these scenarios are covered with real user monitoring. Further things are planned, further components are planned to be covered. I will come to this back in the outlook when we speak about the roadmap. And then the second application, we have the synthetic user monitoring. Here it is done in the way that a scenario is recorded. This means a sequence of user tasks is recorded previously, then it is edited so that this can be executed automatically by so-called robots, which are at the end agents that are installed in different locations in your environment. And then from these decentralized locations, it will execute this previously recorded task list and measures then what is the response time from the systems that were involved in the request execution. So that you get a 24/7 monitoring of the availability of your components that are part of the request execution, and also of the performance that an end user would experience if he would like to use this component, without that a real user is involved. And support here is given for the most relevant communication protocols like HTTP, HTTPS, SAP GUI, RFC, and also web service. New added functionality in this area is now that with feature pack 01 of Focused Run 3.0, we have the support of Chromium and H-Chromium for the synthetic user monitoring Selenium scenario executions. For the ones which are not so familiar with this, so we are using Selenium now as an open source framework that is dedicated to web application tests and makes our scripting, our recording of the scripting much easier, and also the editing of the scripting. It's a quasi standard setting for web application tests. So we are using this, this framework also for synthetic user monitoring. And now it is also possible to execute such scenarios via Chromium and H-Chromium. And H-Chromium or Chromium itself, this is an open source code base for the web browsers. So also standard in the market, and we are using this then to execute the scenarios based on this code base. Okay, then we have the advanced application management. And here we have also several applications combined. Let me start with the health monitoring, formerly known as open component monitoring. And here with health monitoring, we are trying to provide a baseline monitoring out of the box for third-party components. So very easy to achieve information from third-party information, especially related to availability and status information. Therefore, we provide here the capability to do URL availability monitoring. We can also monitor the validity of certificates. It's possible to monitor the execution of operating system scripts, as well as operating system process status information can be monitored. We can monitor the availability of hosts and TCP ports, and we can monitor log file content, search there for a specific wording and get an alert out of this, as well as we can monitor the availability of Windows services and RFC components here. As I said, out of the box. And we don't need a special modeling for this in our LMDB database of Focused Run. So you can use this and configure this direct out of the application and use this functionality. If it's there, I every time get questions related to performance monitoring of third-party components, but this is still a different story. There we have to speak about what is the component, on which technology is it based on, how is the data provided, how can the data be picked up, how can we integrate the data into the modeling, and so on. So this is still a discussion that needs to be done on project base. Here, this is the standard available functionality that we provide out of the box, as you see, mainly related to availability information, status information. Then also part of advanced application management is the monitoring of job, so the job monitoring application here. And there we cover the SAP standard jobs as well as SAP application jobs. And last but not least, we also have here the capabilities for the IT event and service level management. To name them, the IT calendar, the work mode management, notification management is part of Focused Run, as well as service availability management. To give you also here one news regarding the work mode management with the newest release, it's now also possible to do the mass edit of work modes. This was requested since quite a while from customers. So now also this is enabled and the capability has been built in. Then we have the configuration monitoring. As I said, there's a dedicated session for this because over the last 1 year, I would say, we have seen very much requests from customer side regarding these capabilities, especially in the context of security information. So customers getting more and more sensitive with the configuration of security relevant components, and also that their system landscape is configured according to their security policies. And therefore this configuration monitoring can help a lot. And this is related to the fact that for the configuration monitoring capability, we are collecting all the relevant information, so information that are technically relevant as well as security relevant. And then you can run reports over this. You can also create policies over it that means that you describe and to be situations. So what should be set from the configuration point of view for each of the values that are security relevant. And you can compare this with the as-is situation, very comfortable with this configuration monitoring. We are providing this policy templates via GitHub to the customers. And you can use this out of the box, but you can also easily adapt this then to your specific situation, so that this makes it quite comfortable. And also here, the most value you get out of the HANA database here. So this makes it also for a huge volume of data that you can imagine. If you have a very big landscape and you collect for all the systems and the configuration items, that this data volume could be significant. And also here, the HANA plays the role of being very efficient in reading the data out and presenting the data in meaningful reports. We have here now, from the news point of view, with the latest release, now also make it possible to get in validation and alerting based on composite policies. This means the combination of single policies that make sense for a specific landscape type or for other criteria that you have in the organization. And also then with this, you can process a mass amount of policies, and you can do this very efficient. And also we provide now a trend analysis. This means time series of criteria that are compliant and non-compliant. And this works also for composite policies as well as for single policies here. Okay, as I said, for further details, I would like to point you to the session which comes direct after this one. Then advanced system management, this use case here, I think the most prominent application is the technical monitoring. So the monitoring that you're using that works for database systems, operating system level, as well as system layer, instance layer, and so on. It's also on Focused Run template based, so that is predefined. You can use this out of the box. Of course, you can also here in Focused Run adjust the matrix. You can activate, deactivate, as well as you can also adjust the threshold settings. The big advantage and big difference here is that you can use it with this practically unlimited scalability. So as I said, 40,000 systems. This is a benchmark, I think, that proves that this is really working sufficiently, and also with this high amount of connected systems with a sufficient performance. Then part of the advanced system management are health checks that can be provided in addition to the real-time monitoring. We also have then the coverage and support for the license and maintenance certificate management. We collect the landscape data and transfer them to the SAP backbone to support the maintenance planner functionality with Focused Run. And also we do the data collection and transfer for the support of early watch alerts, as well as for SAP remote services. As I have mentioned already, going live check, and step by step, all the remote services will be cloud-based. Whenever they are cloud-based, then we are supporting them also with Focused Run here. Then we have the advanced event and alert management capabilities. As I said, or let me start at the beginning. So it's a central alert inbox where all the different alerts come together. So no matter from which use case they have been triggered originally, you find a dashboard entry that shows you statistical information regarding which components of the landscape are most affected by the alerts, which components are triggering the most of the alerts, how long are the alerts open without that someone has assigned an activity to it, and so on, so that you get a complete impression about the alert behavior of the entire landscape, and then you can drill down to each of the alerts. As I said, one big point here is the correlation of alerts now. There we have heavily invested. This is now used by customers. We get the first feedback of it. One of the feedback you can hear in the session at 12, direct from a customer that has used this. And with this, you can dramatically use the amount of alerts. Especially interesting, of course, also if you have a sufficient amount of landscape components and you take the most advantage out of this correlation mechanism. Then also one thing that I would like to mention here is the possibility of doing inbound integration. So if you have third-party tools that works, for example, on the IT infrastructure layer, like Nagios or maybe also Dynatrace, that providing events, then we can consume these events via a web service in Focused Run, and then these events would also appear in our alert inbox. So if you have, for example, a tool that measures the availability of a certain network router, and the router shows that it's not available, or this tool monitors that this is not available, and then you would see a message in Focused Run, router ABC is not available, and you can then trigger out of this an outbound integration, and this is more or less the standard way how we do it, then via body implementation to propagate this message to the outside world. So you can then create a ticket notification in the outside world, or you can send it as an SNMP trap to components that can handle such information, and so on. Good. Then we have the advanced root cause analysis. Here we have several applications. I would highlight here the system analysis application that really provides you with out-of-the-box combination of most important metrics and KPIs related to the selected technical component, so that you get a good picture about this already in the first view. And then you can, of course, drill down deeper. So it's interactively reacting. You can click in one graphical view. You can navigate forward to more detailed view. And so data mine, what is the root cause for the long running or for the performance degradation? You get a yellow alert for performance, and you can drill down then in the matrix and find out which user is executing which report with which CPU consumption, with memory consumption, and so on, so that you really can data mine the root cause for such an issue. This standard content that I have said is provided out of the box for HANA-based systems, for ABAP components, J2E components, business objects, also for third-party like Apache Tomcat, and also for operating system layer already. Keep in mind that this is highly adjustable. As I said, from the personalization point of view, we see the customers creating their own dashboards. It's easy via drag and drop to add a view on it and then to define which matrix over which time frame in which format you want to see. So you can see then the same metric over different time frames on the same dashboard, something that you cannot achieve on solution managers that easy here. Then what I also want to point out is the Open KPI store. So this is another example for how we open our infrastructure to the outside world. Here we can consume now metrics from the outside world. For example, measured data from a sensor that you have in your production line, which is counting something or measuring temperature or things like this. We can consume this data, you can analyze this data then in the system analysis application of Focused Run. Two more applications belong to this group. This is the tracer analysis. So if you have a reproducible performance issue, for example, then you can trace this execution. And also for this, then you will find out in which component, how much time has been used to execute this request. And last but not least, a file system browser is provided so that you get access to log file information of the managed system without logging in direct to the system. You can download this data, you can visualize this data, you cannot manipulate this data. So it's really just a help to analyze it. Okay. Then last but not least, we have the advanced analytics and intelligence. This means from the analytics point of view, different layers where we provide you with dashboards related to reports of historical data. So the different layers are, the first one is embedded analytics in each of the applications. And we have the cross use case analytics based on dashboards like tactical dashboard, or operation control center dashboard, or operations dashboard. So similar to focused insights that you maybe know from Solution Manager. Also this concept here we have adapted on Focused Run. And then we have the cost scenario analytics. So we are exposing our data to external consumers like the SAP Analytics Cloud or Grafana that we see quite often now in the market. And there then the customers are combining this data from Focused Run with other components that they have in the landscape. Some words regarding the intelligence. So far, we have some predictive capabilities implemented in Focused Run. There is, for example, the metric forecast. So for each metric in system monitoring, you can forecast the most likely behavior over a selectable time frame. And we also have an anomaly prediction for monitored HANA databases in place that shows you the risks that you run into an out of memory or hanging situation on the database that is the HANA database that is monitored there. Also here, this concept is opened so that we support models, machine learning models that comes from customers in this regard. So if you have an idea how to extend this, then you can create such a model on your own, and you can integrate this into the Focused Run infrastructure here in this area. Of course, we also would help you with the creations and and so on. Good. Then I would like to show you the outlook. Starting with the current release, I have mentioned the most prominent news. I think in this presentation, I have tried to integrate this into the overview. What is planned? So the next release will be feature pack 2 in Q4. And there we have over all the areas we have plans. So we have a full backlog, as you can see here. To highlight something in the area of system and configuration monitoring, I would say is the support of zero downtime approach, very often requested now by customers because Focused Run becomes very important for them, zero downtime approach. We are working on it. It's planned to be released with the feature pack 2. And then you see also enhancements of the coverage of further cloud services. So in the area of integration and user monitoring, like Ariba, Fieldglass, and so on. And also in the analytics and intelligence area, we want to extend the content for the different dashboards. So new data providers, which I have not mentioned now, but already in feature pack 1, we have also their new data providers for the configuration and security analytics, as well as for the alerting area, so that already now it's possible to show you their systems that have downtime and so on. Good. To give you a rough overview of what is planned in the further future, you will see two main areas where we are investing in. This is the prediction, and this is the operation of prediction, machine learning in the combination, as well as alert clustering and automation. And of course, content. So every time we enhance the capabilities to cover further cloud services, to cover further on-premise components and so on. We need your feedback for this, for doing the prioritization of this. So according to this, we are changing then the priority of the different planned aspects here. Okay, with this, thank you very much. I'm at the end of the presentation. Let me shortly go over the QA section. And let's see, so for AIM, we see Cloud ALM has more monitoring functionalities for cloud solutions than SAP Focused Run. Are there any plans to make them same, or always Cloud ALM will be ahead of Focused Run? It's not, the development of this runs really in parallel. And it is so that Cloud ALM has the clear scope on cloud service coverage. So there's the functionality for cloud services is the main goal of the development in this area. For Focused Run, we are coming from the on-premise side, and we are enhancing step by step the functionality into the cloud service area. And it is also from the architecture point of view, it's different. And therefore, we will make a very sophisticated decision all the time, based also on customer feedback, which metrics and which components makes it sense to add this information on the on-premise based system like the Focused Run, and where it makes the more sense maybe on a cloud-based system like the Cloud ALM. This is also with the scope of the Focused Run, as well as on their user group, like big customers, a lot of systems, thousands of systems, where the majority is still on premise. So the center point, the gravity of the system landscape is on premise, and therefore there are different priorities of adding cloud-based functionality to Focused On as well as the Cloud ALM. Okay, then can you please elaborate on the licensing model for Focused Run? Is it simply per user? Okay, this is a very good question. It is based on HANA used memory. This means it needs to be calculated. It's the HANA used memory of the Focused Run system itself. And this means we are collecting data from the managed systems, and you store the data on Focused Run, and you keep the data on Focused Run for a so-called data retention time. So it needs to be calculated based on this criteria. So how many metrics you are collecting with which frequency and for how long do you store it. We are offering service for this, and also you can contact me directly if you want to have this calculated for your situation. We can help you out of this, but it needs to be done based on this. When would threshold-less alerting be available for system monitoring and integration monitoring? Now, you have seen maybe on the roadmap, it is there, planned for, let me go back on the slides, for different use cases, like for real user monitoring and for, where is it now? Here, for real user monitoring and synthetic user monitoring first. It's planned for feature pack 3, which will be Q2 2022. We also plan threshold less setup for also system monitoring and so on, but this is for further outlook here. We will come to, our vision is here to come to a setup where the system learns by itself what is the normal behavior of the matrix and sets then the thresholds accordingly by its own without this template concept. No, but the first approaches going in the direction here of real user monitoring, synthetic user monitoring, this will be our first adoption. Okay, and then licensing model threshold has been answered. Okay. This is done. This was also done. Okay, then we are here. Is a tutorial available for creating policies for configuration monitoring aside from available policies? Yes, there is it. I would like to point you to the expert portal of Focused Run. I have it here on the slides, if I'm not mistaken. No, I have taken. That's the thank you slide. So in the expert portal, I can post this link later on. If you send me an email, I could show it to you. There you will find this information. Is there already a release data for feature pack 2, which is more precise? No, unfortunately not. It will be December. I think so much I can say. But please keep in mind that this is information that can change at any time. So cannot say it more precise. Any improvement in the pipeline on setting up work mode maintenance window via IT calendar? Could it be possible to just simply select the host name and it will automatically include all system types found on that server? That's a very good point. I will take this as a feature request, as a feedback from you. I will hand it over to the responsible product manager. And best would be also if you could send me an email. You see my email address here. And then we could handle it in this way so that you get a proper answer. And also, I cannot answer it now. I would have to synchronize with the product manager here. And then last but not least, regarding the KPI metric, is the same metric as solution manager. Do we have an metric in F1? KPI metric. Same metric as solution. I don't know what you mean with the KPI metric, key performance indicator. This would be my interpretation of this. So we have hundreds of KPIs. Same metric in F1. The metric definitions and also the template settings are different between solution manager and Focused Run. Maybe your question goes in this direction. So we have re-evaluate the templates for all the managed system side, and we have done slightly adjustments there also in the template settings. So we are not collecting in all cases for all managed objects the same KPIs, the same matrix as this is done for solution manager. So we have differences here. Okay, we are a bit over the time now, but I think we can see the memory usage like cross ALM. Can see the memory usage across the okay. This doesn't seem to be a question. Then I would say thank you very much. You see my email address here. So sorry if could maybe not answer all the questions sufficient, but you can send them to me. I will take care of it. I will come back with an answer to this. This is absolutely promised. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy the other sessions as well.